Welcome back, listeners, to the Brighter Side of Blue, our worldwide podcast, coming to you almost live from Columbo's Cafe and Tavern in Dogtown, St. Louis. It's the home, JJ, of the famous thin crust Seabo's Pizza and daily lunch specials.
Every day.
Heard that.
What was the lunch special on St. Patrick's Day, Producer John?
Polish sausage.
It's like the Monopoly thing.
What's wrong with that?
Thanks a minute.
Light bulb going off.
Hey,
Oh,
let's talk about that.
okay.
All right, we don't even have to tell people who we are anymore. We'll just skip that.
Go ahead. We'll talk about it.
No, I'm with you. Let's
No,
move on.
I'm Danny.
I'm Tommy.
I'm JJ.
Producer John.
They set me up on that. If you watch that short about me, about the Monopoly thing, why I was the last one to catch on.
Yeah.
Because I just came back to the table because I was crying, laughing, and I was trying to control. I was trying to get myself from laughing. And then you guys, John had this witty remark. You caught it. Took him a second.
Yeah, it did.
And then
Yeah.
I caught
No, that's
it.
what I
But
did.
then he jumped on me.
You could see the joke travel. It was just coming around the
I
table.
like how you did it.
It was coming around the table, but producer John has been like that forever. His sense of humor, it's quick witted, and sometimes it takes you a second to get it.
Yeah, it does.
So JJ, you're not out there. I mean, I'm used to it.
So we're going to remember to like, subscribe, and share. If you're listening to this right now, please hit that subscribe button. It keeps the blue wave going across the country.
Yep.
Trust me. We're growing. We're in 57 countries, 162 million listeners.
Something like that.
Some of us are right around there.
Something like that.
And so subscribe and let's go. Hey, March 17th was St. Patrick's Day. JJ, you worked the parade.
I did.
And unfortunately, it was the day that Paige Spears was released from the penitentiary. But unfortunately, tell us about what happened right at roll call for the parade.
Well, it's kind of interesting, or not interesting. It's kind of crazy that before this even happened, the squad, the 6th District squad that works up in North St. Louis, they're really an amazing little crew. And nowadays, we're short of manpower. We have specialized units, but they're not like it was back in the day. And the 6th District guys, they're a tight-knit group. I mean, they are tight-knit. And they all get along. They love working with each other. When they're not answering radio calls, they hit it hard. Matter of fact, quite a few of them, I can name them, Samir and Napoli and Jacob, Oglesby, and there's a couple, who am I missing? But they'll ride overtime with my guys.
They're all here because of the lights. You can't see them, and you're going to skip them.
Well, I'm going to name them all. But this squad is amazing. They do all. It reminded me, and before this tragedy happened, I want to talk about them because it's like doesn't exist hardly anymore in the city because we're so short. This is one squad that kind of reminds me of back in the day when we were young officers. We had squads and became friends, and they did good police work. They answer their radio calls, but when they're not answering radio calls, they go out and hit the street hard. And that's why a bunch of them come ride with Mobile on overtime, and they get to do that the whole time we're there with us. But they do a great job. They're good policemen. And Monday, the tragedy happened. One of the kids, Nathan Spiess, who's one of the leaders, if not the leader of the group. Actually, Samir, who's one of the guys, told me today. He says he's probably the toughest guy that he knows. He goes, he is unreal, but loves being a policeman.
And then the story, as it evolves, you'll figure that out. But go ahead.
It's unreal. So Monday, we're going. There's a Dogtown parade. It's a big deal. It's crowded. It's in Dogtown, which is right next to Forest Park Park, the largest city park in the country. So we meet there for our roll call. It's 8:50. 9 o'clock is the roll call. 8:50. We're all kind of walking up, having our coffee, and walking up to the roll call. And a call comes out for an officer in need of aid, with shots fired. And we at the time we think an officer's been shot. So it is pandemonium. It's like holy crap. So me and a few of my officers and the old Mobile Reserve officers, we decided we're going to go. It happened up on Highway 70. We know they're going to Barnes. So we leave roll call and we get in our cars and we have to get out of Forest Park, get to Kings Highway, which is right there. Get up to Kings Highway. We're going to block off streets. This is this common thing when policemen are getting rushed to the hospital. We'll block off side streets and whatever. So we're heading our way to lights and sirens to get up there to block the streets. By the time we get to Kings Highway, he has already arrived. And this officer,
Wow.
then the whole thing is the officers, they chase the car for, they're all staring at me. It's a lot of pressure on me. They got a call for a carjacking. Just nod your head if I'm correct, if I'm missing anything. They got a carjacking. They hear the car. They spike it on Highway 70 at the what do you call it? The express lanes up in Shreve and 70. So they spike it. I think they said you spiked it like 3 times. 3 times. It stops. They jump out. 3 people jump out, and they all run in different directions. They're all chasing different people. Nathan Spiess, who had a very horrific injury, he's chasing the one guy that goes across the, jumps over a little wall, concrete wall for the express sections. He gets the guy pistol paralyzed, tells him to stop. The other crew is chasing other officers. So he sees them, does that. This car comes down the express section, is flying, and he hits, takes, and these guys, it's hard for these guys to hear it again. They've been going through a lot of, it's been tough. So the car hits the bad, I'm not even sure who hits it first. I think he hits the guy that jumped out of the car first, and then he hits Nathan Spiess, who's just putting his leg over the wall, and it hits his leg, and it takes his leg off below the knee, his right knee, right? But it's a terrible, and they're all doing their own thing, and it's sirens are on, and it's going crazy, and they hear gunshots. And I talked to Ryan Napoli, who's part of the crew, and he said it was weird because he was chasing the guy up the hill with some other guys, and it sounded like it didn't even sound. It's not like he had headphones on when he heard the shots fired. So those shots, that shots fired. Well, Nathan didn't know what else to do. He's laying on the other side of the wall. His leg was taken off below the right knee, and so they respond to him, and things kind of came together.
So hold on a second. So he's there, and he realizes that he's the only one there with this prisoner, and he decides that he needs help, and he's going to shoot his gun in the air.
Yes.
Okay.
And then,
God damn.
and Samir, I'm going to name all of these guys later. Samir just happened to be perfect timing. Drives down, sees him. Mitchum is another officer, was at the scene. They get him in and I think it's a great little story I just found out. But there's a probe named Griffith, and if I write in the name, maybe look Griffin. I don't want to screw this up. I was right the first time. It was Griffith. Thanks for the shots, Griffith. So he's a probe, and he's new to this whole crew. And
probe means he's not
probationary officer,
a rookie officer.
He puts a tourniquet on him, and I heard that Jacob Oglesby, who's he's one of the guys in the squad's been there for a while. He kind of gives him a little heads up on how to do it. Am I right? And Samir's yeah. So they put a tourniquet on him. Samir shows up. Mitchum, one of the leaders of the group, comes around and pulls him into the back seat of the car, and Samir drives him to the hospital. The amazing part about it is they got there so quick. At 8, and I don't know the timeline was about 8:50 when we get the call, and we decided to run to Kings Highway, like I said, to block off streets. By the time we got to Forest Park, he was there already. They had entered him in the barns.
Good police.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
But there's a funny thing to it, but Nathan's in the back seat, obviously horrific injury to his leg. And then these guys,
doing what they're doing.
Doing what they're doing. And he tells Samir to slow the F down. So he's like, and so Samir told me he was going through like the construction zone, but there's no one out there on a Monday.
Right.
No one's on the street. So he's going and he goes, I hope they forgive me for this. I'm like, forgive you. You're taking this guy to the hospital. So they get him there, and actually, without the tourniquet, and these guys responding so quick, they saved his life. There's no doubt. Then I think one of the doctors or somebody told him if you wouldn't have put that tourniquet in him, he wouldn't be with us. So, and I know it's just little. And this is soon. This is the wound is really deep still.
Yeah.
So I didn't really want to talk about it, but it really is.
No, I think I think a couple cool things is that, like you said, these kids are all tight. They're a tight knit group. And those are the things that bring us back to our times when we were their age.
Right.
They're probably all around the 30-ish age. They're out there locking people up, and it's fun.
Right.
To where we're old heads now. We're the same era that when we came on, and them old heads we considered them old heads. Now we consider them friends. But But they're telling us, hey, man, you got to slow down. You got to quit doing this stuff. You got to quit doing this, and you got to stop doing that. But, you know, they're used to these cameras and everything else that comes with this era.
They're
And this just to hear that story is pretty cool. And there's other stuff, too, that I found out of this that it's just, you know, again, out of all tragedies, you hope comes some good stories.
I mean, actually, it's amazing. He's an amazing kid. Nathan is unreal. I don't really know him that well. He did work overtime with me a few times, but he ended up doing anti-crime overtime. But before this tragedy happened, and he's gonna come back, and I'm gonna talk about that in a little bit. But before this even happened, I talked to you. It's weird because last week I said we always think of what we're going to talk about. And we're talking about recruiting and camaraderie and policing. And I said, I want to talk about this 6th District Squad. And I swear, you think I can make this up?
No, I remember. I mean, we were talking about it.
I said, I want to talk about it. It's kind of unique now because this is a squad that doesn't exist, I don't think, anywhere in the city of St. Louis, maybe hopefully other districts or other cities. But this is a squad that they all bonded. They love doing police work.
On the nightly, every night.
Yes, and when they're not answering radio calls, they go out and do police work. And this is what happened on Monday. The carjacking came out, and they all jumped together. And they had a heck of a squad. I didn't know we had that many coppers in one district at one time. But and I want to read off because I think they all need to be recognized.
Yeah. Bill McClellan talked about this. Good police work needs to be
these guys did a great
mentioned
job.
by name.
Well, I'm going to, and I'm going to read it, and I hope I don't mess up Samir's last name. But their lieutenant, I'm going to go from their lieutenant all the way.
Talking to you, Mike.
I'm going to go down from their lieutenant to their sergeant was there. Was Joe Hill working that night? Got a thumbs up. Joe Hill was the lieutenant. Good man. Sergeant Paul Holting, which was, he and I were in the 8th District together early on before we ever thought about going to specialized unit. He's a really good dude, and he's their immediate supervisor, and he's just a great guy. You got Nathan. You got Bradley Nelson. Is a kid that left the city, came back. His whole goal was to come back and ride in that squad again, and he's real tight with Nathan Spiess. That's who he wanted to ride with. And the crazy part of that story is that was his first day back.
From Nathan's first day?
No, Bradley Nelson wanted to ride with Nathan.
Oh,
gotcha. His first day back. Gotcha. He came back to the city. They went through his little retread stuff, and that was his first day back to ride with Nathan. What a horrific first day! But then you got Jacob Oglesby, works secondary or overtime with me and secondary for me. Samir Adamovich, close enough. He works overtime with. Dylan Mitchum has worked there. He's a great little policeman, and he's one of their leaders too. He's been around for a while. Ryan Napoli also works overtime for me. He sitting talking to him and hearing the story of that night. It's these guys. I think they're struggling still. I know they're struggling still.
Right.
But then you got Thomas Griffith, who was a PPO that did the tourniquet.
Probe.
They were probe, and this is the guys I just named were the squad. They're all together, and then there's squad 2 or what do you call it? 12 area, 11 area, and then 12 area is Thomas Griffith, Jacob Luce, Nicholas Weber, and Brian Bergdorf. But Thomas Griffith is a probe, and he had for that kid to see that and have to put the tourniquet on is amazing.
Pretty cool.
It is cool.
And it was done on the fly. It was done. They just used a lot of common sense because. You know, you can mentally prepare for this, but when it happens, you don't know. You have no idea what you did or you're going to do, right?
Right.
It's tragic. There's just thoughts racing through your mind. And for everybody to have, or for a couple people to have the thoughts, put them in the car or first tourniquet the thing. And the people, we don't train in this. Am I right?
Didn't. They do.
They do.
Do they?
Yeah.
We never
You
trained.
just showed you're a dinosaur.
No, but this to throw the tourniquet on and then put
They
it
don't
in
even
the
have
car.
typewriters anymore, Tommy. This is some crazy shit going on now.
Well, Tom didn't write any reports anyway. So
Yeah,
Very true. Very true.
Hey, and I also have some funny.
But never mind.
I got some.
Knowing my story.
I want to show the character of Nathan Spiess. I'm sorry if I cut you out, but I'll forget. That I don't talk about. So Nathan is just a tough kid, heck of a soccer player, and so that night after it was 8:50 in the morning. Later on that evening, he's out of surgery. He texts Brian Seppi, Jeff Kriska, and Mike Simpson, who run the police soccer team, and we're trying to get a team for the open team. He texts them from the hospital and says, "Looks like I'm not going to Ottawa this year." being humorous. Is that?
Well,
Yeah.
but that helps. And what I was going to get into is that Nathan is from a family that's filled with first responders, law enforcement, friendly people. His father was employed with the St. Louis City, as I believe in the communications division. His brother Nicholas is a firefighter, and his father's cousin is Joe Spiess.
Right.
So, and I think his father's name is Jim. His cousin is Joe, our friend, who
Chief Spiess.
yes, and he's been up at the hospital and talking to everybody, and what was really kind of cool over the last 2 days and talking to Joe is that, at the beginning, obviously trauma set in, this sucks. My life has changed forever. It's not good for anybody. But then he got information about the Walter Reed Center. And the Walter Reed Center has tremendous stories that come from it about rehabilitation and what you can do after rehabilitation. And after hearing about it, Nathan cheered up.
Right.
Said, this could be, I can do this again.
Right.
Now,
He will.
normal people would say, hey, man, tap the brakes.
Well, I talked to some of these crew out here. There's like, if anybody can do it, he can do it.
Right.
And you actually had a story about a Green Beret, which I think would be encouraging for him to hear.
Right.
And go ahead.
Well, it's just a Green Beret that, and Joe, and this was coming from Chief Spiess. And he looked into this, and he was, and then he found a story about a Green Beret that had lost. Well, he wasn't a Green Beret at the time; he was an infantry. He lost it below his leg or below his knees. He lost both feet or whatever you want to call it. Well, he ended up going into Green Beret school and passed and became a Green Beret. And and those are just the little things. And what Joe was saying is that how he could see that when Nathan was thinking that he could never be a policeman again, and then he got the news that, hey, you might be able to be a policeman again, that his mood kind of went
Lifted.
up.
It
And
lifted his mood.
It just gave him it just gave everybody some hope.
Yeah.
I want to say one more thing about Nathan,
I love it.
which
We
is
can
crazy
talk about
because I just was thinking about it. Nathan, and they could probably tell me, my guys were working in the 6th District, driving around, and Nathan and a kid named Ledbetter were shot.
Right.
And right there at the border of the county, and we were right there, and all the mobile reserve units responded to him.
Right.
And Nathan got shot in the leg.
This was 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Yes.
Got shot in the leg. And then Ledbetter was shot, and he's recovered, and he's doing good, but they didn't think he was going to make it. And I'm not going to get all into that story. It's a crazy story, but he's doing good now. He's not a policeman anymore, and but Nathan came back from a gunshot wound, and people probably, I guarantee you, people
In that particular case, he was chasing a murderer.
right.
In this particular case, he's
Carjacker.
chasing a carjacker.
Right.
I mean, if you're looking for people that just love being the police, those are the kind of guys. The kind of guys that do that stuff. You just know they're in it for the mix.
The kind
They're
of
not in
people
it
that
for
we
the
started
money.
a podcast about.
Right. But one more thing about the family that with Joe Spiess and Nathan became a policeman, and Joe was his dad's cousin, and then the real Captain Spiess was Joe's dad, and he asked them to pin his badge on the night he graduated, and then he did.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot of connections between the Spiess family and the Brighter Side of Blue, and anything we can do, we're going to do it.
Yeah, they're a police family.
Absolutely.
Nathan, if you're listening, keep your chin up. You'll be back. You'll be chasing
Right.
murderers, carjackers again. It's just going to be a minute, and we'll see you soon.
Well, producer John, there was he'll have to take over the title of handicap.
John Anderson lost his title.
John Anderson has lost his title. John Anderson, we used to call him handicap because every week he'd come in with like a broken finger, a broken foot, or like it was something that wasn't bad enough that you couldn't work,
Yeah,
but it was always
he
something.
was always injured.
So we just called him handicap.
Well, Nathan will be back. He'll be back in blue, and we'll be talking about him really soon. He'll be back on the nightlies.
Well,
Yes. One last thing I just want to say. A lot of the guys showed up. A few of the mobile
this has
reserve.
been an awesome night. This
Yeah.
was awesome.
They were great, and they were a little loud at times, but
but who are the two that started the Jameson shots?
Gregson and Stahl.
Yeah,
But they're here.
That's been a tradition.
Nick Fink,
That is now a tradition.
Marcus is here, so I can't. And Quincy were here, and they left.
They had to leave.
But anyway, no big deal about that. We can cut that
Good
shit
that
out.
you're
But
forgetting people's names.
I'm really happy that Jeff Stoll reached out to the 6th District squad because they know him very well,
And they're all down here.
and they asked him if they wanted to come. He thought that they needed a break and kind of away from
Well,
everything.
yeah.
So
And I think it's the era thing, right? So in their era is different than ours, and we're older now.
Right.
We've been through the same kind of stuff that they're going through now as having very close friends of them. Unfortunately, tragic things happen at times. And in talking to them tonight, you just got that old time feeling that
Yeah.
these guys got this. These guys
That's what makes me feel good because we did this so often, guys, and I know it's not as easy these days to get everybody together and have hard lot parties all the time and stuff like we did 30 years ago, but it just gives me a lot of hope that you guys are such a tight-knit unit and you work so hard and you care about each other and you love each other, and that's what makes it work. Otherwise, it doesn't. If you just go to work and go right home and don't have that connection, then then you're fragmented,
Going through the motions.
Yeah, and you're just doing a job. But this is a life. This is a career. So great job. I really
very good
appreciate
job.
what you guys are doing.
Keep your chins up and look out after each other. You'll be fine.
All right, moving on.
So now we move on. So that was a bad.
So what do we got on tonight, Paige
Well,
Spears?
we got Paige Spears.
Like I said,
This also happened on March 17th. Producer
Unbelievable.
John took on the charge of bringing Paige Spears to our attention, and he was incarcerated for some legitimate crimes that he committed, but he was rehabilitated and did his time. And so producer John took it
37
on.
years.
Great interview. It was our first
Press conference.
First
And
press conference.
Who is that one guy though? The got the mustache. He didn't.
Bill McClellan.
He didn't identify what paper he was from.
Oh, McClellan? That's right.
Post Dispatch.
Post Dispatch.
I
Bill McClellan.
think I was from a couple different papers.
And then
you're making
Steve James chimed in. You'll enjoy that interview. It really went well, and I think they'll be back on the podcast. There's a ton of prison stories. You'll love JJ's question to Paige Spears. It went really, really well.
Yeah.
right.
JJ asked the questions everybody wants to know.
Yeah, exactly. I just have just a couple blank statements I must say.
Blank.
Do you know? Yeah, and, well, I don't mean
Come
by
on.
blank. Just
Come on.
simple statements. No conversation required. Except the number one vehicle, the vehicle that is the made in America, manufactured in America, all parts and everything. So it's the most American car.
Ford.
It's the Tesla.
Oh.
It's the Tesla. It's the Tesla.
Oh, here we go. I thought we weren't going to get
I'm
political.
not getting political. I'm just saying.
Jeez.
I'm with
I'm
you.
just saying it is the most American car.
I'm down with it,
Ford
though.
is like number 6. Honda comes in, but Tesla's number 1. So I don't know what that's all about. I just don't. But that was my.
You're just trying
Hey,
to go.
No, I'm just.
you're
That's my
trying
little.
to
That's
go,
my. This was
producer
my
John.
little jab.
Producer John might come in here and
You know?
go
Things have
down.
changed. They were the.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna say,
Yeah.
but we have some people we need to probably talk about advertisement.
Who's that?
Oh yeah. Well, I'm gonna get the Ford.
Buy local, buy chicken.
Ken Plackey was here earlier.
We should have told Paige about these things when we interviewed him.
We
like
will.
where to go buy a car.
Oh no, we will. We will. We're working
need
on
to-
that. No,
yeah,
we
we
actually
need
had
to
a
do that.
conversation with them.
Absolutely.
We're working on one thing at a time. We're getting a state ID before we get a driver's license for them. But the Schicker Automotive in the St. Louis location, Schicker Ford of St. Louis, is having a hail sale. We just had some brutal weather through St. Louis,
Got
and
me.
they have some brand new cars that have some hail damage. You can get a good bargain on them.
Really?
There's also truck month for
Do you
all
get them with the
four-
dents in it?
Oh, damn right you do.
I got
the
a
dents.
I got a dent guy.
Those are
Can
war
take care of
wounds.
that cheap. Actually,
yeah.
I really
So,
do.
Go see
We'll
them.
mention his name if he gives us a few
I
bucks.
mean, are they
Yeah.
good deals?
He don't
I gotta
listen.
think those are
Phenomenal
good deals.
deals. Phenomenal deals. And they just have little dent holes on them.
And then you just got to go get them fixed.
Or not. Or
I
not.
would have done a car.
It's going to hail again eventually.
Yeah.
And if
just
you
leave
got
it-
that
what
one
the hell?
paint job where it
Yeah, the
changes
$99
colors and
special
everything.
Earl Scheib special.
It changes colors as
Remember
you go
that
through.
Earl Scheib?
Hell yeah! I got my first car I ever got. I ended up having to take it to Earl Scheib.
$99
It was
to
awesome,
paint their car.
dude. I was broke as a joke,
Just
dude.
a bunch of Hoosiers with spray
Broke as a
cans
project window.
Yes, I was.
Yeah, it was horrible.
painting your car.
And they were huffing half of this paint.
Yeah, they were huffing.
They
They
did good.
spray, huff. Oh, jeez. I think it's those guys in the 3rd district.
Well, if
that
you don't
can't
want
be
to
on
spray huffing when you need something printed, go down to Marvell
Marvell.
Printing.
Marvell, they're
Mark
great.
Colombini, part
yeah.
of the Stanza Beanie family.
Yep.
1928 South Broadway, 314-231-1477 for all your printing needs, printing cards, all your business, anything.
Great people.
Very good. And then cigars. JJ, your cigar guy?
Yes.
You go to Dan Pond.
He just said yes.
You said yes, period.
I'm
He said yes
He's writing his
and
Zen
gave
down.
me the eye. He came yes and looked at me. He's like, "Hey man."
JJ's got
I was gonna go. I was getting ready
Right.
for prime performance. So you go
Right.
get the cigar.
He's like, "Sure do. What do you got, sir?" Yes, Dan the man with the bands. Dan is the man with the bands, the cigar bands, 8984 Watson Road. Go in and see Dan Ponder, Police Family, and they've got anything from your $2 cigar. I don't know the lowest price.
No.
Should I say two?
Yeah, let's just go $2 because if
Go
you
with
say
two.
if you
There's no way
represent
Maybe
the
you
buyer
can-
side of the
maybe
blue,
he
you'll
can
get it
give
for
you one
$2.
for-
There's
Just say I
no
want one
way
for
there's
two.
a
Dan,
$2
Dan might cut a cigar in half and give you.
Right. So we're going with $2 anywhere, all the way up to the most expensive,
All right, very good.
Cuban and all that silliness,
prime
And now-
performance if you want to get physical and better
Right. and smoke cigars.
and smoke cigars. You gotta go prime performance first.
That's where
Where they
Paige.
at, JJ?
That's where Paige went when he
Got
got
that
out of jail. He went
Prime
right-
Performance?
He went to Prime Performance. JJ pulled it out of him.
Is that-
JJ pulled that out of him. That he did.
That
His
was awesome.
performance was high.
Yeah. Well,
And
it's awesome.
they, you know,
Hey, I'm
Hey.
telling you one thing right now. He did not need to go to prime performance
Oh,
to
you're
take care of
thinking-
business.
You're
was ready
thinking
to roll.
37 years in the penitentiary equals what Prime Performance can
Yeah,
do with you.
and more. If they could bottle that, they'd make millions.
You know, it's funny you say that because in March of 1998, the FDA approved Viagra.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that
That's
another one?
March of
Is that-
98.
Was that one of your March facts?
That's one of my March facts, but you
That's
brought
good.
up that thing. March of 98, the FDA
Well,
approved Viagra.
I'm
Where
telling
were
now
you
you
at,
don't need
Dan, in
Paige-
March of
If you-
'98?
You
Paige
don't
don't-
need Viagra. You need Prime Performance, guys.
Well, you know,
Paige don't need shit.
That's what you.
All right, moving on. JJ,
Hold on.
Why we gotta
haven't
give the
got done
address?
With our ad with Prime Performance.
we're not.
You can find them at
stopping to
40
shoot.
Where the hell? Where the hell they at?
They're at 44
Fourth.
Fenton Plaza. They're at 122
222 Central
Park Drive.
in O'Fallon, Illinois,
Yes, that's where
Illinois,
they're at.
not Missouri.
not Missouri.
And then they got all kinds of stuff. Let's move. Now we're going. They,
What about
They got
what about the
extras,
Shicker
so-
jingle? That's always
Oh
fun.
yeah,
yeah, you missed that. You're
When you
in
don't-
such a hurry because you got pickleball tomorrow morning,
I do. But
and now you're just trying to
and
rush
JJ's
through
got a
the
good
fucking
zen.
show or rush.
We can
Rush
skip
through the
this if
show.
you want. It don't matter.
when you don't want to bicker about the price on the sticker, head on down to Shicker where you'll get a better deal quicker.
The best deal quicker.
Well, yeah,
Not better, the best. You just start there. If you start there,
that's true.
there is no going anywhere else. You don't come in there and go, I got this deal. If you just go down there, there's no bickering anymore.
Good point.
What about a Zen?
That's where I'm trying to get.
All right, go ahead. We ready? Go ahead. Jay.
JJ has a Zen.
I
It has
did-
something to
Sure
do with
does.
freedom and what our police
It
officers
was for
fight
Paige Spears. And
for. All right.
Look at that. Come on.
well, freedom is the window, is the open window which your sunlight of the human spirit and of human dignity. That's really, it's really bad.
That's terrible.
Well, I might have fucked
Do you
up.
need a hatchet?
No, let me do it again. Freedom is the open window which pours the sunlight of the human spirit and of human dignity.
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 Tough word.
Who said that? Herbert Hoover?
Herbert Hoover, good eyes. Herbert- I think it was good. Freedom is the open window which pours the sunlight of the human spirit and of human dignity. Dignity.
Dignity.
You
Dignity.
just have a tough one.
I don't like that word
Dignity.
either. Hey, I don't like that,
That
word
is
either.
not your word.
Dignity. Well, it's been a long day.
It has been a long day.
You're a dignitary.
But I will say that the press conference, our first ever press conference with Paige, was fun. We had Bill McClellan asking questions. We had Chief Joe Spiess from the Brentwood Beacon.
Steve James.
We had Steve James, his half brother. I don't know who he was reporting for, but we had him. We had all of us, and then producer John and
Paige.
Paige take the stage, and
You're going to enjoy it.
yeah, it'll be fun.
Tommy,
What happens with police? You know what happens with people that support the police?
their communities.
Their communities, when they all band together, like these policemen have here. When they all band together, things are a lot better. They're a lot safer places to live.
Welcome to the Brighter Side of Blue. This is our very first Brighter Side of Blue press conference. Day one of the press conference, we have Paige Spears and producer John as a guest. It's the odd couple right there. That's the odd couple. Paige, welcome and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Paige, now we've heard a lot about you and John's relationship from producer John. Tell us a little bit how you and producer John even met.
Well, actually, how me and John met was through my stepbrother, Steve. He was telling me about the Brighter Side of Blue. And actually, I've been hearing you guys' name for a few months before I decided to make the move to want to reach out, because he used to talk highly of you guys all the time. So we was talking about you all one day, and I asked Steve if he can reach out to John for me. I'd like to talk to him. He said, well, why do you want to talk to him? I said, because I want to let him know my situation, and he said, okay. And he said, so do you want me to call him now? I said, well, sure, if you can. And he did. And John picked up, and we talked. And he kind of heard my story, but I can tell he wasn't quite convinced,
Yeah.
what I was telling him. And so I say, I'm not going to let him off this phone too quick until I kind of convince him that I have been changed, I am changed, and I'm not that person that I was back in 1988. And the more I talked to him, the more I seen or heard his defenses kind of come down a little bit. So he said, okay. He said, well, give me a call back in a week. And he said, I want to check some things out. And thank God I had a lot of stuff out online, through Bill McClellan and a few other reporters that have been writing about me over the years. So he kind of had something to go to kind of look me up as a reference. And I called back in a week, and he said something that just brought tears to me, man. He said, I think I can help you.
Wow.
And
we're talking about Steve James, our friend of the show, and does all our drawings and
Artist friend.
Our artist friend. Yeah.
And this is Tom. I'm Tommy from the Blue Line Gazette.
The Blue Line.
And,
Where's your press credentials?
Throw him out of here.
But tell people a little bit about how long you've been in, because we've told the story, but some people might be tuning in for the first time.
Yeah.
And just tell them, where you've been for the last 37 years and then how you got there.
Well, in 1988, I robbed a liquor store in Ferguson. It was on Airport Road in St. Louis, Missouri. And I was hurting for money at the time. And I go and I robbed the place and retrieved the money, not what I was told that was in the place. I got a lot less, but anyway, I robbed the place, and I got caught like an hour after that. And I've been in prison ever since. I got sentenced to life plus 30 years. As a typo error, they also had me on the books as 1,001 years. So actually, I had two sentences. which is unheard of.
1,000 years.
1,001 years.
Charles Manson didn't get 1,001 years.
No, he didn't. He
A
didn't.
little extensive.
And I didn't shoot nobody. I didn't pistol whoop anybody. The only thing I did was ask for the money. I got the money and I left. And a little over an hour later, I got caught. And I've been in prison ever since, which was 37 years.
Did you know when you got caught that you weren't going to see the light of day for a long time?
No, I didn't think that I would get this type of sentence. Dealing with lawyers out in St. Louis County, I was told that the most I would receive was 30 years, and the less I can get was 10.
Okay.
So I gambled. I went to trial. I lost. And instead of me getting that 10 through 30, they enhanced my sentence and gave me life plus 30 years. Life for the armed robbery and 30 for the armed criminal action. And I was blown away when the judge sentenced me like that.
What went through your head and your heart at that point?
I told the judge a few nasty things at that time.
Yep.
Because I thought it was so unfair. And he knew it was unfair because he told me, he said, I know you're coming back. And I said, you're right, I am. I'm coming back.
But that was that old 3 strikes rule that,
Yes.
that no longer exists, right?
No, it no longer exists.
Yeah. But it's just so weird how you can just go from, being, well, you thought you were going to get a few bucks and then do whatever. What were you doing back then? What was your life like?
Well, at the time, I was a photographer. I had a contract with several different nightclubs in the city of St. Louis. I did private parties, weddings, and, of course, working out of nightclubs. And I lost a couple of my jobs. And I think when I lost a couple of my jobs, depression set in, a little anxiety, and I needed some quick money. And that was the bad choice I made in my life that I regretted, and it cost me 37 years of my life.
Yeah.
Tommy from the Blue Line Gazette again. John was saying that when you went in, there was an incident within your family that kind of changed your perspective of where you wanted to go, and talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, my oldest sister, she was 36. She worked out at Lambert Field Airport, and she came home one day, and a burglar was inside burglarizing her apartment, and I guess the guy wanted to kill my sister because he knew that she would be a witness, and he murdered her. And that was in 1995. And she would always tell me that, Paige, if you ever want to get out of prison, you need to change your life. And shortly after, I did just that. I started involving myself in a lot of self-help programs in the prison system.
So when you first went in, you weren't a model prisoner when you went in?
No, I wasn't. I was the first 8 years of my incarceration, I always say I was like Frank Sinatra. I did it my way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how far did that set you back as far as just getting on the good side of the ledger?
It set me back for a while because normally when guys make that transition in their life after being a bad boy inside the facility, you got to kind of prove yourself. And once they seen a consistent walk, I think maybe about 3 or 4 years, they seen that I was consistent with what I was doing, and some of my old buddies seen that I was consistent and I wasn't living the lifestyle I was living when I first came in, and people just started kind of shying away from it because they knew that this was the real deal.
So when you were a photographer, though, were you having any problems? I mean, were you like a good guy, like or were you like an angry guy, or were you like somebody who was a troublemaker?
No, well, actually, no, I wasn't a troublemaker when I was a photographer. Actually, I went to school for that, and I got into that. But at the same time, when I was a photographer, I was selling drugs at the same time. So I didn't allow my profession to be what it should have been, because I was mixing oil with water at that time.
Okay.
Hey, Paige, this is JJ Gazette.
Okay.
The JJ Gazette.
JJ's Gazette.
No,
Mobile Observer Gazette. It doesn't matter.
Your circulation's zero.
Hey, let me just one thing. Did you just say you were mixing water back in the day?
I said it was like oil and water being mixed.
You thought he was a PCP guy?
I thought it was a PCP guy. You weren't selling PCP cigarettes.
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, I heard you. I'm sorry. I mean, Paige, I heard you say. I think John might have told me, or I heard that you said that when you came in, you were angry. You were one of those angry guys, and you became a model prisoner.
Yes.
And you saw that the anger they had when they came in, you wanted to help them, change their attitudes, and you became a model prisoner.
Yes.
And you became you taught classes.
Sure.
And you did all kinds of stuff, and help other prisoners change their attitude.
Yes.
Did any of that help other any other criminals get out sooner than you?
Sure. Hundreds of inmates have walked out these doors before I have.
And what kind of crimes were they?
A lot of them was worse. North side rapists, south side rapists, murderers, drug dealers, every type of person that you guys may have arrested, they probably went through my class one time or another.
Wow.
And they had some kind of dealings with me because they would bring these stories up, and when I first started teaching these classes, they used to kind of rub me the wrong way, and I say, now you just killed 3 people and you got a life sentence and you're going home in 12 years. And I only robbed somebody, didn't shoot nobody, and I got 40 years to do. That's not fair.
Right.
So one of the psychologists said, she said, Spears, she said, if you ever want to stick with this profession, you got to change the way you look at people. And you can't be judgmental.
Right.
And it took a little moment for me to process that, but it was a career that I did for over 30 years in the Missouri Department of Corrections.
What I did notice when you left prison the other day and the warden was there,
Mm-hmm.
she was genuinely happy for you.
She was.
And I think that you made a big difference. You had explain how much freedom you actually had in prison because they respected you as much as they did.
Well, the freedom that I had, they have a thing what you call honor status. And honor status meaning that you can kind of go from point A to point B without scrutiny like other offenders would have. And they would allow me to go from point A to point B. Like if an inmate was going through some type of difficulty in another unit, they would allow me to go to that unit and speak to that person versus somebody else. They wouldn't allow that to happen.
I have one more question and I'll pass it on to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Would you ever consider going back to that prison and teaching classes?
Well, the warden asked me that, when I come back and be a mentor, and I'd like to just share with you what I share with her. And I said, no time soon. I don't want the doors to lock on me, man.
Yeah.
But, on the flip side of the coin, it is my passion. I've done it for so long, and the possibility is always there.
Yeah, that's neat. Yeah. So, when producer John came to us with this idea, I mean, obviously we were all like, what the hell are we doing here? This is a police podcast and this and that. And so, but when he laid it out, he became passionate about it. And then we all signed on board, of course. But I just want you to take in a moment of where we are in time right now. You are freshly released from the penitentiary after 37 years, and you're in the basement of Colombo, surrounded by the entire mobile reserve and 6 district officers, surrounded by law enforcement. They all know you were going to be on the show tonight, and they wanted to come and see this. And is that to me, that's kind of a neat thing. How does that make you feel?
Oh, man, when Steve, my stepbrother, pulled up on the parking lot, and we seen John coming in, he say, that's John right there. I want to just fly across the parking lot. And so when I look around, Steve said, where'd he go? I said, I don't know, but it just brought chills knowing that what I'm finna walk into.
Yeah.
Because I'm so used to being cuffed up by law enforcement.
Yep.
But just to know that you guys wrapping your arms around me like this here and showing this love and support,
Yep.
It's just going to open the door for other guys coming out of prisons, man, where they can feel this same love and this same treatment.
And I think you can continue your passionate work just on the outside.
Sure.
I agree with you. I wouldn't go back down there.
Oh, God, no.
Jeez. I mean, you do it on this side.
Yeah.
And make some money.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. When Steve called me initially and talked about It goes, my stepbrother, and he's been in prison. You kind of just laid it out, very briefly, but then he like, it was a 3-way call, and then Paige is on. I had no idea it was coming. I was just sitting home watching TV, and then Paige did a great job of laying out his situation. But I'm still like, you got life in prison for robbery. I thought there had to be, like somebody got hurt or you shots fired or something. And it wasn't until, and I told you, I said, hey, I don't know if we can help you. You seem like a nice guy, but I don't know if we can help you.
Mm-hmm.
But once I hung up, and I can't call him, so I said, call me in a week. And you called me every week, ever since this started.
Mm-hmm.
But once I went in the case net and looked at it, and there was no assault, attached to it. And you just had 3 robbery arrests, no other arrest for anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But then I went into, my newsroom, .com. But then I started seeing the Bill McClellan articles, and I said, hey, if Bill's behind this, then that's all the credibility I need, to get behind this. And really, I was really anxious for you to call me back because I wanted to relay that, and I had talked to, the rest of the guys, and they were on board.
Yeah, and producer John, it just so happens we have Bill McClellan here, and so he's going to add to that.
Well, Paige, of course, I met you years ago.
Yeah.
Visited you in prison, wrote a number of columns about you. Nothing worked until the police got behind you.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, John and JJ and Tommy and Danny and these guys got behind you. And the next thing you know, we're sitting here in the basement of Columbo's.
Wow.
And you're a free man.
Woohoo!
Is this as weird to you as it is to me?
Yeah, woohoo! Thank you, God.
Paige, I think we actually have your half brother Steve.
Okay.
Hey, Steve, where are you at now, Steve?
I'm right here.
And who do you represent?
I represent everyone that's here tonight. So many ways. But I just want to add to the show tonight that I'm glad my stepbrother, Mr. Spears, is out after serving 37 years. There was a time that I also had went to the Department of Correction where he was. And because he had such a great status already with the administration, they was able to allow him to come down and talk to me. And when he came down and spoke to me, he told me, he said, hey, bro, he said, I want you to do the right thing and get out of here. This ain't for you. He said, get out of here. Go home, take care of mom and pops. I said, okay. I said, I'll do that. And he said, and when you go, don't forget about me. Right? So me knowing that he had this 1,001 years, life plus 30 more years, I'm like, what can I possibly do that the lawyers couldn't do? That the people that he's reaching out, Mr. McClellan and the reporters and stuff that he's reaching, out to. So then came a point where I was injured, and that's how I met homicide detectives who apprehended the culprits that left me victimized and paralyzed in a wheelchair. And he introduced me to the rest of the crew here at Brighter Side of Blue. So I thought about my brother in the conversation. I said, I may have someone that will listen to your story and could possibly help you. And he said, who? And I said, John and the Brighter Side of Blue podcast, his guys. So I said, hold on, let me click over and call him on the 3-way. So that's what I did. I called him, and those two spoke together. And John said, let me talk to my guys and look into this a little bit, and I'll get back with you in a week. Give me a call. So after we hung up, me and Paige continued our conversation, and I said, give him a call back, man, in a week. And like he said, when he called back, John said, I think I can help you. And John told me, he said, Steve, this is a good case, and me and my guys, we want to do something about this. So I'm glad it all worked out, and he walked out of there, a free man. And, today we went and got him a telephone and got him some clothes and stuff like that. And I pulled up at a gas station, and by me being paralyzed, I asked him to get out and pump the gas. He said, sure. So when I gave him the money, he said, what am I supposed to do with this? I said, you go in and you see the attendant, and you tell the attendant that you want this money on pump 9. He said, okay, and he come back out the store. He said, now what I do? I said, pick up the nozzle and put the gas in the car. He said, he said, that's all I got to do? I said, yeah. He said, is it going to keep going or will it cut off itself? I said, no, it's going to cut off when the money is spent on the gas. So I'm glad to have him home, and I hope this podcast and me and him working together with you guys, because we want to show that, there's nothing wrong with sitting in a room with police officers, trying to do the right thing to help younger guys. Because like I was speaking up on it a little earlier, saying that once upon a time when we was younger, we all played cops and robbers. Before the game started, we was friends. And after the game was over with, we were friends. But we had fun doing it. And those who chose to be the robbers was the robbers, and the cops was the cops. So with that said, to all the guys that's out there maybe watching this show or may be get reference to come and look at the show, just think about what you're doing, and just stop the violence, because it's a better way. There's too many opportunities I heard in this world nowadays that you don't have to do what you're doing to be successful, and that's what I pretty much have to say on this show.
That's very good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve.
Well, when Steve had me out there, pumping the gas, I told him once I got done, I said it's awful hard to steal gas these days.
It's hard to steal gas. Well, you know what? Steve always speaks highly of you, but
I got a flip phone.
he got you a flip phone, dude?
Hey, there's a story behind that
There's a
too.
flip phone, Steve?
Yeah.
So he doesn't know anything about
Paige has got
text
a story
messaging?
about that.
Yeah, when I was leaving the prison, one of my interviews I said that I never used a cell phone before. So the warden remembered that. And she said, Mr. Spiess, she said, you never use a cell phone, correct? And I said, correct. She said, I think you better get you a flip phone.
Oh, my God.
Don't get overwhelmed.
Oh, welcome. Oh.
Well,
So
you know,
I got one more question with follow-up question.
oh, what
Have you learned how to text message yet?
I did one last night on my mom's phone,
There you go.
but I have not done one on this one yet.
That's going to be a lot harder.
Okay.
Oh, it's going to be a lot slower on that flip
Yeah,
phone.
Okay.
Well, what I think, when Paige called, because I wasn't there Monday and we didn't talk Tuesday, so yesterday I talked to Paige, and my first question was, since you've been out for a couple of days, what about 2025 is blowing your mind? What was your response?
Well, I told him that when I called him, I was sitting in the bedroom, looking out the window, talking to him on the phone, listening to music, and I was just watching the cars go by, and I did not identify one vehicle. I did not identify one vehicle. And the only way I understood some of these vehicles was the emblem that I seen, like a Chevy,
Yeah.
a Buick, But just to see these cars like this, it's like, oh my God. Just think the last car that I ever rode in was a 1988 vehicle.
Yeah.
So when we got on the van coming from the prison, it was a newer van. And just to see all the digital stuff on the dashboard, I asked my brother, I said, is that a TV?
Yeah.
And he said, well, no. And everybody on the van started laughing. I said, oh my God, man.
We have Joe Spiess from our
Chief Spiess.
Chief Spiess from the Brentwood Beacon here.
The Brentwood Beacon. Tommy's having fun with this shit.
Is he making this shit up?
Paige, we had a chance to talk earlier,
Yeah.
and I thought it was really cool that your mom's still with you,
Yes.
and
yes.
you missed her for all those years, but
Yes.
you got a chance now to spend some years with her
Yeah.
before she left you, so that's really cool. I
I'm
told you I was
ready
going to
for
do
it,
this.
man.
So
I'm ready. Hey, come on, do it.
we went around this table and to all the experienced policemen, and we said, what are the best stories you got about bad guys whose plans went south, right? I told you the story about the bank robbers who
Yeah.
set themselves on fire.
Yeah.
So, can you share with us a little bit about your getaway?
Okay,
At the
so
robbery?
so
Your 45-minute getaway.
and McClellan asked me this story when he first met me. He said, "What happened?" You know, and I said, I told him about the crime. So I kind of skipped over the key thing, right? And he said, "Well, what about the key thing? You know, about something being left in the car?" I said, "Oh yeah." And he said, "What the hell was you thinking?" I said, "Well, it wasn't my fault." I said, "It was my buddy's fault. He the one left the key in the car."
The keys were locked
So
in the
when
car.
I come out, I see the keys locked in the car. I said, "You better start running."
How far did you get before they
Maybe
got
about
you?
a block. That's how I got caught.
Oh shit. Oh.
Well, we were spending our time together, Paige. You shared a story.
Yeah.
First years you were in jail, you spent at Jefferson City, correct? Now they do scary tours at Jeff City. That place is so bad.
Yeah.
It's closed now. But you told me a story about two guys that came up to you to do an escape at the prison. I'm sure you saw a lot of things over your years in
Sure.
jail. But
Sure.
you share that story real quick about the two dudes that tried to get over the wall?
Yeah, well, I was a night janitor in the medical facility, and you had a couple of guys, you know, they had small sentences. One had 17 years and the other had 30 years.
Small sentences.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Jesus.
compared to mine,
Yeah.
you know, and so they wanted to break out of prison, and they asked me if I wanted to break out, and I said, well, no, because
I'm cool.
know, you know, if I break out of prison, I'm going to be running the rest of my life. I know how that game go.
Right.
So, so anyway, they decided that they wanted to break out of prison and asked me if I wanted to help them. And I said, well, no. And he said, well, can you hold this here for me until we put this plan together? And it was a 25 automatic pistol.
Wow.
And I said, I'm not going to hold that pistol. And he said, well, if you don't want to help us, you're going to have to find another job. And I said, well, this is my time to stand. I said, I'm not going to find no another job, you know, and I'm not going to hold no pistol. And you're going to have to find somebody else to assist you in escaping. And so they knew that I meant business, and obviously they meant business too, because they tried to escape. And one of them actually got over the wall and got into the car with his girlfriend. And the other one, you know, he tried to escape, but the sheet that he had, it broke into pieces. And the guard was sleeping in the tower, and when he fell,
when you say sheet, is this one of those we're scaling down from the second floor sheets?
scaling down from the second floor sheet.
All right.
And so anyway, he
It actually works.
Yes,
No, it
does.
didn't. I guess.
Yeah, it does. Back in the day, yeah. About some about these sheets, it didn't work that time. So
Shitty sheets.
So anyway, the guy, when he fell and hit the ground inside of the prison, because, you know, you had that tall wall, and that woke the guard up in the tower. And when the guard wakened by this guy falling, he shot and assassinated him.
Really?
Yeah, so the other guy that was in the car with his girlfriend, they spent off, and they didn't get far down the road before they ended up getting caught too. So I said all that to say this, that if that was me, I probably wouldn't be here talking to you guys now.
Right.
No.
Well, and then again with the 37 years, 37 years, and we're going to have you back on just for all the listeners. We are talking to Paige and his stepbrother Steve, and we're going to do some prison stories. You know, where I'm sure there's so many stories
Yes.
that are out there.
Yes.
And we want to make it to entertaining, but also make it, you know, this is not a place where people
Beneficial.
want to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is not a place where people need to go. And we are going to try to do some prison reform stuff, you know. And I want to, and one of the first things that even just, and it's such a minor thing that people think about, but Paige needed to get an ID. And when we're talking about like reform, this isn't really reform. This is just like common sense. Paige, tell people your since you got out on Monday, we're sitting here on a Thursday. Just tell people what you've been through to just get an ID.
Okay, Monday I arrived home maybe about 2:00 Monday afternoon. And I knew I needed to get an ID. and they give you a card, a debit card, when you leave Missouri Department of Correction, like all of the savings that you may have saved since you've been incarcerated. They used to give you cash money, but they don't give you cash money anymore. They put all this money on a debit card. And they say you just take this to any bank or Walmart and you can cash it. So I said, okay, well, I got a few dollars on here. I said, I need that to buy myself something. So I had my brother and my mom. We're all in the truck together, and we go to a bank. And I walk up in this bank. This is the very first business that I've walked in when I first got out of prison. And the people in there saying, okay, well, can we help you? And I say, well, yes. So my brother say, well, let me communicate. I said, no, I know how to talk. Let me represent myself, you know? So anyway, I told him that, I just recently got out of prison today, and I have a debit card here, and they told me that I can come here and cash it. So she said, well, do you have any ID? I say, well, no, I only have my prison ID. And she said, okay. And I showed her my birth certificate that my mom had for me, and I showed my release papers. So that's the only identification I had. And she said, well, unfortunately, we can't use that. You got to have a state ID. I said, I just got out of prison 2 hours ago. So she said, okay, but there's nothing we can do. So we went to another bank, and another bank asked me the same question. And I say, well, I see a state ID is very important out here that you got to have, because everybody's saying they need a state ID. So I go to the ID place, and I waited in line for an hour, got up into the window and told her my situation. And she said, do you have a state ID? I said, yeah, a prison ID. I showed her the same thing I showed the bank, my prison ID, my birth certificate, and my release papers. So she entered everything into the computer. So she said, what is your weight and height? So I'm thinking I'm finna get my state ID. Yeah. So she said, well, do you have a old check stub? I said, I've been incarcerated 37 years. No, I don't. You know, and she knows she made a blooper, and she said, oh my God. You know, and I said, I just want a state ID. And she said, well, something about your social security number is not registering with your name. I say, it's not registering my name. I said, this is who I am. So I said, well, is it in your system? She said, well, yeah, it's in my system, but it's not matching who you are. I said, this don't make much sense. So she said, well, you need to go to the DVD building. And so at this time, I said, oh, my God. You know, so I left her, and it was getting late because I knew other things had to take place. So right now today, what we did, we went to the Social Security building, because everybody said, well, go there. If something's going on with your Social Security number, they can straighten it out. So we go to the Social Security building, and you had a few officers at the door, and they say, what do you want here? And I say, well, I was told to come here and try and get a Social Security card, get this straightened out. And he said, well, we don't do any walk-ins. You got to make an appointment.
Oh, Jesus.
I said, okay. I say, well, how do I make an appointment? And he gave me a sheet, had the 1-800 number on there, and said, well, call these people and set up an appointment. So here it is Thursday, and I still don't have an ID.
Yeah.
You know,
We'll have to see what we do with that. Steve, go ahead.
Well,
Question
speaking
from Steve
about
James.
his ID, so I picked him up this morning. I said, I'm going to take you to get a cell phone and take you shopping, you know, for some clothes and stuff. So we get to the phone, to the Verizon
cell phone.
Yeah, we get to the Verizon cell phone company, and we go inside there, and he sits up on the stool at the counter, and he said, I got a phone that I want to get turned on so I can have me a phone. The lady say, okay, I got no problem with that. So to turn this on, could I see some ID? He said, shucks. She said, I can't turn it on if you ain't got no ID, because we need some kind of ID. So I won't be able to help you. I said, well, here, I say, use my ID. I give her my driver's license. She said, okay, I can help you out now. So we got the phone turned on. We met a new friend. So I showed the lady, I showed her name is...
Was it Debbie?
No, Kelly. Her name is Kelly at Verizon. And I told her I'll bring her up tonight. She was so nice to us. And she looked at some of my paintings. So she's going to have her husband to send me a picture of one of his sports heroes to paint because we had such a nice time in Variety.
Oh,
Yes,
hell.
did.
We have
Yes,
to really
did.
get him an ID.
Yes,
We're going to
did.
get him an ID. Yeah,
Yes.
we're going to get him an ID. And we're going to have you.
One of the things that
Go
I
ahead,
brought
Tom.
that up for is that's just a little thing that doesn't cost a whole lot of money, doesn't cost a change of law, legislation, the whole bit. Is it that much? And I can't imagine that many people a day are getting released, or that many. Let's just say it's, and I think this would be high, Paige. 20 people throughout the state get released on a day. Is it that hard to have a computer or somebody that you can call and go, hey, man, this dude's getting released today.
Give him an ID.
All he needs is an ID. Here's his picture, and give him an ID.
Sure.
Would that made it a lot easier for you?
It would have made it a lot easier. You know, I'd be a long way ahead of myself than now.
Yeah.
Most certainly.
Go ahead,
Paige, I got one question. Everybody's mowers are beacon. Everybody
Reserve
is
Beacon.
probably wanting to ask this question, but won't. Do you have a girlfriend?
I have a dear friend. You know,
So
I do.
Don't go there, JJ.
Okay.
You're going.
so it's been 37 years. How
Oh
was
my
it?
goodness. Oh man. Hey, all I can say.
My God.
Hey,
JJ went there.
Hey,
I'm
JJ,
sorry. I'm
hey,
sorry.
Hey, all I can say is hallelujah.
Oh, that's
Couple
good.
other fun facts here.
Go ahead, Tommy.
That is a really fun
I
fact.
told you I had a sense of humor.
I love that. I love it. I love it.
JJ wants a standing ovation for that.
Yeah.
All right. So when you went in 1988, the number one song, anybody know what the number one song was?
Night Fever.
Okay.
Faith from George Michaels.
Oh, George Michael. Yeah, he was top. He was good.
That
Man.
sounds like a song two dudes on a motorcycle
Yeah.
would play while
Okay.
they were riding down the
Yeah.
street.
Yeah.
JJ and Danny.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
And the top TV show? What was the top TV show you think, Paige?
I know they had what's the little guy name? Different Strokes.
Oh, different art. Yeah.
it was up there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to like that.
It was the Cosby Show.
The
What you
Cosby Show.
talking
It was the
about?
Cosby Show.
Yeah. the
Was the
Cosby
number
Show.
one show when you went in.
Well, you probably met Bill Cosby, didn't you?
With the Southside Rapists, right?
He should have been to prison long before me.
He probably went through one of your classes, didn't he?
exactly.
Flunked, but
Hell of a talent show.
And then the number one movie of that year. Any idea, Paige?
I know I went to see it at the theater right there in Northland Shopping Center. It was with no, it was Fatal Attraction. Fatal
That was up
Attraction.
there.
Yes.
That was up there. But for the year, it was Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh my God.
that's
Who
terrible.
Framed Roger Rabbit?
Wow.
So that was the number
Yeah,
one
that was a
movie.
good one.
That was
yeah.
The
number
songs
one?
were
Yeah.
horrible.
That's horrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
The songs were bad. I think the In Excess
Yeah.
I liked In Excess.
was in there. They were like at 4, and but that was a bad year for songs.
Oh,
It was a
yeah,
good year.
yeah.
Now, in that aspect of it, 37 years you're in the penitentiary doing. Do you guys get to keep up with the trends that are going on out in the world?
Well, what they did maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, they allowed us to have tablets there, and this would allow me to have a little bit more easy transition with the phones out here because you have some of the same apps in there.
Yep.
We don't have internet access there, but we're allowed to order like books, music, movies, stuff like that. And then it got like a lot of the inside stuff that goes on inside of the facility, but it's very, very lucrative to the education part.
Nice.
Now we'll get into a lot of the prison stories coming up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when me and John are going to sit down with you and get into more of the in depth of the prison stories. But
Sure.
one of the things that I right off the bat, all the people that talk about gang or talk about prison stories, there's gangs involved. Is that in every prison?
Yes, and it's getting worse.
Yeah.
And and you're 60 at 60 right now. 60 years old. 64.
64.
At what point in that? So you have that, and you even said when you showed up, you were angry.
Sure.
And at what point did you get past the angry crowd? But then you had to transition into you didn't even want to be around. I think you've told John you didn't want to be around them anymore.
No.
So you would avoid people.
Yes.
Just, at what age was that?
That was at the age of like 33, 34 years old, somewhere in there.
And then there's the wisdom comes, or with age comes wisdom.
Yes.
And that's
yes,
such a true
yes,
statement.
most certainly.
And it's just amazing that at 37 years,
Yeah.
you've been out for 3 days, and here you are at the
Yes.
first ever Blue Line
Yeah.
press conference.
Oh my goodness, it's a blessing.
And Tommy from the Blue Line Gazette is
Yeah.
happy you're here.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a great.
And we are going to do more.
Oh yeah. Oh God, yeah. Before we wrap up, anything you want to say, Paige, or producer John?
Well, yes, man. I just want to thank this guy, man. John, you know, he's a winner, man, and I think God really put him in my life, man. Put all of you guys in my life for a purpose. But the seed started with him.
100%.
You know, the seed started with him, and I planted it, and he watered it, and he believed in it, and he convinced you guys to believe in it, and here we are. You know, it's just a blessing, man, because you know if you guys wouldn't have stepped in and you know pushed this envelope a little farther than what I was able to push it.
Yep.
You know, I was looking at another 13 more years out of my life.
Gosh.
You know, and I'd have been walking out of prison close to 80 years old, man.
Yeah.
You know,
Paige,
so
hey, Paige.
Good.
I
Yes.
love your hat. I
Thank you.
appreciate you wearing that.
thank you.
We're also going to give you a nice little. I want you to wear.
Hey,
I want you
thank
to wear
you.
that
Quarter
too,
zip.
brother.
Thank you.
Quarter zip.
Yeah.
That's stylish.
Okay,
It's
thank you.
stylish.
That's stylish. That's
Appreciate
stylish.
that. I will.
He's got stylish.
They didn't
Paige,
have quarter
thank
zips
you.
when.
But you know he's got to
Yes.
catch up with the style.
Yes.
He's been.
Appreciate
Well,
that.
and I
Thank
want to
you.
say to Paige, you know, I was hesitant, obviously, at first, but it got to the point where after we, talked a few times, I really look forward to your calls every week.
Yeah.
And, we had some great conversations, and it really got all of us, it was the competitive thing. It's like we
Yeah.
have to get to the right people. We can't let Paige down. Let's get out there and make the phone calls and that. But, it was nerve wracking, for all of us, especially you. But at the end, and thank you to Governor Parson for,
Yes.
Yes.
for
Yes.
for issuing the commutation. But we didn't know. And when that, I kept checking his website, and then, he right before Christmas, it came out, and seeing your name on there was, it was like, it was like winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was, and I didn't have an idea. I was a photographer in the waiting room at the prison, and when the ruling came down, I talked to John that morning, and so I asked John, how was he doing? He said, I'm doing good. He said, we're still waiting to hear from Parson. He said, have you heard anything? I said, no, I haven't heard anything, John. And he said, well, the day is still early. I said, John, they're not going to do nothing. I said, it's Friday. I said, it's almost noontime. I said, these people's not going to do anything today.
Shit always happens on Friday, though.
It does.
And that's what he said, and that was just so encouraging to hear that. He said, well, you never know, Paige.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't think this is going to happen, So I didn't get off to work till 6 o'clock that evening. And when I got in, I always make a phone call, and I heard my mom screaming, man. And
Wow.
I thought somebody passed in the family, and I said, Mom, what's wrong? And she just couldn't spit it out. And I said, Mom, what's wrong? What's going on? And she said, he did it. He did it. I said, who? She said, Governor Parson. I just broke down, man.
Nice.
I just broke down, and I said, wow, praise God, man. This guy finally did it, man.
One last question,
Yeah.
and maybe not the last question because you know how we go.
Well,
But one of the things we were talking yesterday, and then you told us that you had went to Walmart,
Yeah.
and that
yeah.
you were amazed at the speed that people just run around all
Yeah.
day at and
Yeah.
look at their phones, their heads down, they're mad, they're angry.
Yeah.
But I'd like to ask you, because we've all been to Walmart,
Mm-hmm.
is there more mad people at Walmart or prison?
Man,
Great question from the Gazette.
I think it's a toss-up, man.
it's a toss-up.
I think it's a toss-up. I seen buggies flying. I seen go-karts going up into Walmart, and I seen people with their heads down on their phones and bumping into people. I said, oh, my God, do I got to stand against the wall before I get hit or what?
Wow.
No?
It's crazy.
But and I think it'll be neat if we can do something, and
Yeah.
we're working on it, like week to week,
yeah.
because getting acclimated to society is just going to be wild
Yes.
to you, I would imagine, but just normal to us.
Yes.
But some of the things that you're going to think are, this is out of control.
Yes.
We're like, yeah, dude, this is just a life now.
Well, like you said, being able to get up and just go to the refrigerator and
Oh, my
get
goodness.
something to drink.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
couldn't do that for 37
Yeah,
years.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, mom, she had like it looked like a 40 ounce of grape soda in the refrigerator, and I drink a third of the grape soda, and I go back to the bedroom. I get back up again. I drink more of it, and I said, "Hell, I'll explain this to mom in the morning. I knocked the whole 40 ounce."
Well, I think one of the, Danny was saying that one of the reasons that we wanted to do this press conference is usually, the guest sits next to me.
Oh yeah.
And we didn't want you to fail your first drug test.
Okay.
due
Yeah,
to
contact high
failure.
with.
Tom smokes a lot of weed.
Let's just get that out there. So you're
I
right.
love, I love my lemonade.
Yeah. So we are planning. I hope you're a willing participant going forward here with the Brighter Side of Blue.
Oh, most
'cause
certainly, most
there's more to
certainly.
this story, but
Most certainly.
we're going to wrap it up for our first press conference.
Just one thing.
Go ahead, Bruce.
What's your mom's name?
Betty.
Betty.
Yes.
Let's dedicate the show to Betty.
Yes.
And she had to wait a long time for
Yes,
Paige
she
to
did.
get out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cheers to Betty.
Yep.
Yes.
That's my
And
mom's name,
congratulations.
too. Betty's a
Yes.
cool name.
Yeah, that's cool. So,
Yeah.
guys, thank you so much.
All right.
Paige, thank you very much.
Thank you guys,
All right.
man. Praise God.